In this video, I'm going to keep a promise to a subscriber who asked me to talk about kata. Alright? And then another subscriber asked me to talk about weight. What do I think about weight? Should people lose a lot of weight, or is weight watching something that is ultimately something that's important? And that one to me is something I'm going to enjoy, because sometimes, people will see me, and, sometimes people who don't really even know what weight is about will, comment and say, I'm a bit overweight. Not knowing anything about me and why I carry the weight I carry, or what I can do with that weight. So I'm going to speak on that last, and you will want to stick around, because if you have any questions, that will kind of answer certain things for you. All right? Okay, so the issue of kata. The gentleman wanted to know if I put that pad over there. He wanted to know what I think about kata. Okay, first of all, I've always said that karate is my base. All right, hardcore karate is my base. Not what Joe Rogan did. No punching to the head. Bare knuckle, hardcore karate like it was taught in the 70s in the ghettos, in black areas. To black kids, generally, and Hispanics, and of course some whites in the UK. When I talk about karate, the UK is different, and I always say that most of my peers are actually in the UK. People who think like me are actually in the UK. There's a lot of softness in the United States, so you get some people who want to train hard. Most actually really don't. The average person actually really don't. You get people who are paranoid when it comes down to what can happen. There are people who are paranoid about people run up in their homes even though they live up in the mountains somewhere. Things of that nature. So they may train a little rough. But on the average, the cushion life of so many Americans tends to be a detriment to real martial arts training, or real fighting arts training, to the point where martial arts is actually almost like ballet. But that aside, I've said that karate is my base, and hardcore Budo karate, the way it was meant to be taught, is my base. And there are other people, almost every self-protection person who was legitimate, like Peter Considine, Jeff Thompson, they have all said karate was their base also. And they're from the UK, which is no surprise. So we build things on top of that, but the attitude that we bring to everything we do is essentially the attitude that is karate. We try to kill with one punch if we have to. Try to kill with one kick if we have to. Not kicking high. I don't recommend that for the street. But there is a attitude where to hurt someone seriously if you have to is the goal. All right? And that comes from the mindset of karate, the philosophy of Ichigeki Hizatsu, one punch, one kill. So everything that we do, no matter what it is we're doing, any other art we study, is actually put on top of that. And speaking for me in particular, it's put on top of that mindset. So even if I'm wrestling, if I go for a takedown, I'm going for a takedown with the conviction of this takedown, I'm going through the individual. They're going down to the ground with no hesitation. So I bring the same attitude to wrestling that karate actually fosters in you when you're being trained, when you're training in real karate. So when it comes down to kata, yes, it depends on who is teaching you the kata. 99, and I mean that. I'm not going to write a disclaimer and say that I didn't mean 99. I mean 99, probably 99.9% of teachers, but certainly 99, almost 100% of karate teachers, all right, do not know the application of the kata they are teaching. They don't know the application of the kata they are teaching. The moves of katas were not put together for nothing. Okay, they were put together for a reason, and I will show you a few examples of katas, in particular from Shotokan, and show you the application of these particular katas that many people have forgotten or never knew in the first place. So it depends on who is teaching you the katas. If an individual knows the application of the kata, then yes, practice it. I know the application of these katas Why? Because the person who taught me these katas happened to be a full contact bare knuckle fighting champion. Not just karate, but he fought in bare knuckle tournaments against all styles, even kickboxing back in the 70s, and he emerged victorious more times than not. When you look at these underground fights, like in Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, one of my karate teachers actually fought in Chinatown in those particular tournaments, underground tournaments, where, you know, the last man was standing to test his karate. He taught me kata, taught me the application of these katas, and then there's other people that I won't mention because it's my secret, that are some of the pioneers of who actually not pioneers but brought back the hardcore karate, and they also talk about the bunkai, the application of karate katas. So if I just take for example, Heian Nidan. Now Heian Nidan is a beginning kata in Shotokan. Now there's a move where essentially you are in a position. I won't go through all the rituals of starting it out, but you turn here and here and here. Okay? So 1, 2, and 3. Now, to the average person, that doesn't look like much. Alright? But the translation of that is the blind side. If someone is here, if I'm talking here and someone was to attack, you would turn in. Now, it doesn't have to be here, but you would turn in perhaps this way. Or turn in this way. Alright? Now, here is the block, turning in this way to the individual, moving forward to the individual, which makes sense, logically makes sense. Moving forward. This way, the predator now becomes the prey. By me moving not this way, but moving in. As I move in, what ends up happening, there are two translations. One is, as I move in, the uppercut, and then a forearm. So I move in, 1, throw the uppercut under the chin, 1, and the forearm, 2. The other application for that is I move in, and this hand reaches, and if they have some clothing, reaches, snatches them in, and the forearm goes to the neck. Okay? So, 1, reach in, snatch them, and the forearm goes to the neck or into the nose. So 1, 2, 3, with a punch, 1 uppercut forearm, or 1 grab, snatch in forearm. Right? Now, most teachers don't know that is Heian Nidan. So they just teach, okay, you bow, you do this, you 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Alright? No. The application of it is something that is street worthy and actually works. I've used it, playing around, you know, with friends just to see if it will work, and it works. Give you another example from Kanku, right? From Kanku or Kanku, okay? So there is a technique where you are here, 1 front kick. Bear with me because I'm not in the studio, so I'm trying to stay here in my living room so you can see everything. 1, a chop, front kick, 2, and here. Okay? So, I'm going to do it the other way. 1, 2, front kick. I'm throwing the front kick. Can't see my leg. Throwing the front kick. I'm here. 1 and 2. Now, what is that? What is that? It looks beautiful, but what is that? Actually, it's a street-worthy technique. Okay? From here, there's 2 ways of looking at it. The individual in front of me, okay, I have blocked through a chop to the neck, and then a front kick to the groin. As I turn back around to the other one, I catch him, the one that I just kicked, catch him with a punch. It can come this way, it can come this way, or it can be a forearm. When I catch this one, from here, I now turn to the person who is in front of me, and it's this motion. I'm going to turn around. After I've hit this person here with a chop, front kick to the groin, and punched, I turn to the other person and I snatch that person. When I snatch him, I'm here. Now what is this? I duck, but when I duck, the hand comes out, my right hand comes out, I snatch his collar, his far collar. When I snatch his far collar, I bring this hand to his closest collar across, and it's actually a choke. It's a strangle. So again, one application is the man here is a chop, I block, and chop him in the neck, right? Front kick, backhand him, or forehand him. Turn around, another man's coming, I cover, reach out, grab his collar, and strangle him. Okay? So that is this move. 1, 2, 3, here. Or I'll do it this way. 1, 2, 3, here. Or the other side. 1, 2, 3, here. Now, when you know what that is, then yes, it's a viable application. So now let's look at all 4 of those moves, right? Let's look at all 4 of those moves and say I'm using all 4 on a person in front of me. This is the application I particularly like. Taking that same move, 1, 2, and 3. Using it not to fight 2 people, but 1 person. I'm in a clinch. I'm in a clinch. Okay. This hand is on the outside of the man's neck. Here's his head. My hand, here's his neck. My hand is on this side of the man's neck. This part here is I bring this hand across. Because we're in close, I need space. I bring this hand across his head, push his head away now. So his head is down. The chop now comes down across his carotid artery. Okay? So I push his head and then I come down on his carotid artery with the chop. From here, I separate just enough hanging on to him. A groin kick, 1. Come back, snatch, and choke him. So again, I'm in a clinch. This part here is, this part in the kata is, I will take this hand, bring it over to get room, snatches, push his head down this way. Push his head down so I can chop his carotid artery. Or I can come the other way and just push his head this way and crush his trachea. This way. From here, I give myself space. Groin kick, 1. So now we have 1, 2. Okay? The groin kick. And then this, once I kick him, he will bend over. So now his structure is sabotaged. He will bend over. I can grab his hoodie, grab his t-shirt, grab his coat, whatever it is, and strangle. Okay? So, when we understand those things, then yes, kata works. If we look at MP, for example, MP has a technique where you are blocking and then you step and you jump. And when you jump, you come back this way. Okay? So it's a block and then you're here and then you jump. Now, what is that? Well, we know that this is a block. We know I'm blocking something. Now, keep in mind, people like to laugh at karate blocks. But we have people who are very popular today doing what is called redondo, right? In Kali, redondo, right? They're 1, 2, or 1, 2, or 1, 2, right? And they're blocking. Now, why do karate blocks look like this? Not because they're rigid. They look like that because the attempt of karate blocks is not just to be defensive, it's to be offensive. So now what you find is people who are trying to teach street fighting or trying to teach some kind of a combat Kali, they're using the same kind of blocks, right, that were always in Kali that they laughed about, right, that are also in karate. When I block this way, and I have a reputation for blocking hard, when I block this way, I'm trying to damage your arm. I'm trying to damage your leg. I'm trying to block, yes, being defensive, but I'm also being offensive because I'm trying to hurt the limb that you're trying to use to hit me. All right? So, getting back to this kind of block, I've already blocked something that you threw at me, right? Whether it was a punch this way or whether it was some kind of kick, and then I move in. Now, what is this? That is in MP. But what is that? It's in a traditional Shotokan kata, but what is that? That's a fireman's carry. It's a fireman's carry. It's actually in a Shotokan kata, right? So I block a technique, I block what you're going to throw, or I block it, cover from here, whatever the technique is, whatever thing you throw, right? And then I move in, hush, lift you up, throw, bang. And then I come back into my stance, and one more move, and that's the finish of the kata. But here we have a fireman's carry in a traditional Shotokan kata. So, are katas valuable? Yes, but you have to know what they are. You have to know the application of them, and I would say 99.9% of teachers have no idea what the meaning is in these katas. Me personally, I teach karate in my school. I do teach karate. And I let them know that the kind of karate I teach is to hurt. It is seriously to hurt. It is not for points. All right? Anyone who's interested in learning real karate, if you can get to the area, if you're in the New York area, you can contact me at umacamp@yahoo.com, and you can take one class. And when you get back home, you'll tell people, yes, I trained in some real karate. All right. Last thing I want to talk about is weight. A gentleman asked me about weight. He says, well, you know, Safe, how about weight? What should a person weigh? And that's a subject that I like to talk about, because I really want to point out some issues about this whole weight thing, because people look at me and say, oh man, you know, he's weight. Sometimes people try to be funny and say, okay, he's fat. And I want to make a point here. All right. As far as I'm concerned, if you run, if you jog, all right, and I don't mean just jog like you're walking, but if you have a decent pace, okay, so you're one, these are your feet. That's a decent pace. Now, if you have a decent pace, and you run at least 3 days a week, morning, night, doesn't matter, whenever you can, morning, night, at least 2 miles, and you eat 3 meals a day, you don't gorge, but you eat 3 meals a day, not a lot of garbage, all right, that is your weight. That is your weight. If you are not in a combative sport where you have to cut weight, if you run, if you're in a combative sport where you need to cut weight, then you're cutting weight. Why? I used to wrestle, so I'm telling you, you cut weight for an advantage. Because when you rehydrate, you come back, you know, your body, homeostasis, I think that's how you pronounce the name, but you come back to your natural weight, or close to your natural weight when you rehydrate. So that's the advantage of cutting weight. You cut weight to have an advantage during match time or fight time or whatever, okay? But if you're just a person who wants to, you know, concerned with your health, but concerned with having a certain amount of weight to defend yourself, if necessary, in a hand-to-hand situation or another situation where weight is an issue, then I would say if you run 3 days a week, about 2 miles at a good pace. Now, so you don't have to run forever. If you run at a good pace, 2 miles is good, because it's getting your heart going. All right, 2 miles is good. It doesn't seem like a whole lot. If you run at a very good pace and not just jog, if you run at a decent pace for 2 miles, all right, that's a decent run. And 3 is even better, but that's about it. It shouldn't be any more than that. All right, you don't need it, okay, because it's a good pace of a fight, and fights simply don't last that long. All right. So there's no need to run 25 miles, you know, and you're preparing and you're trying to be in shape for self-protection. Now, if you look at that, and then you eat 3 meals a day. If you eat 3 meals a day, you should be able to eat 3 meals a day. Now, if you eat 3 meals a day, sensible meals, you don't gorge, you don't eat a lot of garbage in between, then that is your weight. You're running, you're sweating, you're not gorging in meals, you're eating the meals that you should be eating, right? You're eating healthy, that is your weight, okay? That brings me to this. I run 3 times a week, okay? 2 miles, very good pace. I pass a lot of people. I pass people I can see over yonder, and my pace is such that I pass people as I'm running, okay? I put my hood on, I don't care how hot it is, because I don't want to look at my surroundings. I don't listen to music when I'm running. I like to I get caught up in my mind. I train my mind to get me through being tired, rather than listening to music and having some artificial means of escape. Because I wouldn't have that in the self-protection situation, so I try to not have that when I'm training. Now, when we understand that, I'm about 195 pounds. About 195 pounds, and I'm 5'7". Now, why am I about 195 pounds? I don't eat a lot. I eat about 2 meals a day. I'm about 195 pounds, and can't get down below about 185 pounds, and will never try to get down below about 185 pounds, because I need a certain amount of weight, 1, to defend myself. Point blank, period. That's my goal. I need everything I do is strategic. I need close to 200 pounds on this 5'7" frame, okay, in order to defend myself, but also in order to teach. Because when I teach, I allow people to throw punches at me, even if they're not advanced enough for me to throw punches back to the body. I rarely throw punches back at a student to the head. I rarely do that. Usually it's to the body. Even some of the most advanced ones, I might just maybe smack with the gloves to the head. But I try to control myself very well when I'm training with my students. But there are some who are not advanced enough for me to even go to the body. Those particular individuals, I let work on their offense, and I have to take their punches. I simply defend. So I need weight on me. Most of these people are bigger than I am in height, so I need weight on me. So when we look at the amount of weight or density I need to be effective, to carry a certain amount of knockout power with me, and take that and then add that to the amount of punishment I take on a day-to-day basis when I'm training with my students, I have to keep close to 200 pounds on this 5'7" frame. Now, at that, there are times, all right, where since I've torn ligaments in my arms from the boxing for 46 years and wrestling, there are times where my arms hurt me, all right, and I might be in a certain amount of pain, and I may have to take some Advil or something like that. Now, when that happens, I can't do my push-ups. I can't do, I might have to go a week without doing the amount of push-ups I like to do, or doing my weightlifting program, which I don't do a lot of weights, it's more reps, but just for muscle tone. But there are times I have to lay off for a week, maybe even 2 weeks. At that point, I might get a little softer. All right, so you might see me on videos where I'm looking like this, and then you might see me on videos where I look a little softer. All right, but when it comes down to weight, I deliberately keep about 200 pounds of weight on me. And this particular weight that I have on me is not weight that is just sitting there. Okay, I'm very capable of throwing my weight around. I'm very capable of throwing punches. I'm very capable of kicking. I am still in a full split. My weight is strategic. My weight is for a purpose. My weight is when I go out somewhere. I go out somewhere and I'm looking for a book and a man does not say excuse me, and I tell him he should say excuse me, he can look at me and know that I have enough weight on me. I have enough weight on me to match my intentions. Okay? So, the bottom line is weight is strategic for me. If you're running 3 days a week, about 2 miles each time, and you have a good pace, you eat three meals a day, and you don't gorge, that is your weight. Unless you're training and you have to cut weight, and that's something else. But that is your natural weight, and I would not recommend you trying to get smaller. I do recommend if you're like 150 pounds, 160 pounds, to try to pack on to at least 175 healthy pounds. Realistically, we live in a world where you need a certain amount of power. You do need a certain amount of power. Okay? You need a certain amount of force. All right? Lastly, on the issue, there are many people that may look and say, oh, well, this is the way you're supposed to look, that's the way you're supposed to look. In his book, Meditations on Violence, Rory Miller, again, is talking about the movies, right? And he's talking about how the weightlifter, right? The weightlifter is never the one who really beats people up. He's never the one who, you know, is really feared for a really good reason. You know, so when people start talking about, oh, well, weight, or you look like this, look like that, let me say this to you. We live at a time, and I'm almost finished with this. We live at a time where a man could have a bag over his head, and a person could say, well, this guy right here, he's going to fight in an MMA fight, right? And then we live at a time where these people today who claim to know about fighting will look at that man with a bag, not knowing who he is, and say, look at him. He's sloppy. He's a fat slob. You know, he can't fight MMA, right? And then they take off the bag, and it happens to be Fedor Emelianenko, right? I mean, how many people would look at Fedor Emelianenko and say, okay, he's in the running for one of the greatest mixed martial arts that ever lived, right? Or he is one of the greatest mixed martial arts that ever lived, but in the running for the greatest mixed martial arts that ever lived, all right? All right, so if you look at him, right, how many people would look at him and say, okay, you know, he's a great MMA fighter. If he had a bag over his head, most of these people on YouTube would say, look at that fat slob. You know, that's how it works, right? There are people on YouTube that would look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? If they didn't know who he was and didn't know who George Foreman was, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger and swear he would beat George Foreman. All right. There have been people for years who thought that James Toney, you know, was going to lose the fighters when he was knocking fighters out. Oh, look at James Toney. Oh my God, he's not going to win a heavyweight championship. Oh my God, he's not going to beat this guy. Oh my God, he's not going to beat that guy. Right? Well, it's the same thing with me. It's the same thing with me. 3 days a week, I'm putting on the gloves. 3 days a week, I'm putting on the gloves. I'm kicking, I'm wrestling, I'm doing the whole nine. Right? I'm not one of these people just hang out. I'm not one of these people on YouTube just talk a whole lot of crap. Right? If you come to my school, you will see that I work. You know, and if you need to work on something physically, you'll be working with me, yours truly. I won't say, okay, work with a student. If you're paying me to work on something with you, it may require me to put on the gloves with you, and I'll have to do it. It may require you having to wrestle with me, and I'll have to do it. It may require you kickbox with me, and I'll have to do it. And with all that, yes, I have a couple inches on my side. And the reason I have these couple inches on my side is because I do not run from anybody. I do not run. I am there. I'm there to hit you and there for you to hit me. Okay? And I need a certain amount of weight on me. So, for you people that are worried about your weight, don't worry about your weight. Unless you're in competition, run 3 times a week. Start out running a couple hundred feet, I guess, right? Eventually run about 2 miles, 3 days a week, eat 3 meals a day, not a whole lot of junk. Your weight will level off. That's what you are. Tone it up. You'll be all right. All right. Carrying weight in this day and age where it's getting increasingly violent, is a viable and should be part of your strategy of self-protection. One more fight camp. Save Carmen. Train hard, train smart. See you next video.